Welcome to this quiet corner of the night. Here, science becomes a story, and the language of the mind is spoken in whispers. Together, we wander through the hidden worlds within you, the rhythms of your brain, the currents of your breath, the quiet constellations of thought that guide your days and nights. If you find comfort here, if these moments of calm and curiosity feel like a place you'd like to return to, I invite you to gently press the like button. Share this space with someone who might need a little stillness, a little wonder before sleep. And when the night comes again, let it find you here, ready to drift into another journey. Leave your thoughts in the comments, your own reflections, your questions, the places your mind visits while you dream. I read each one, and they help shape the paths we'll walk together next. And if you haven't already, press subscribe and let the little bell carry a soft reminder to you when a new story begins. So settle in, slow your breath, and let us step gently into tonight's exploration. You cradle yourself in the quiet twilight as your brain dims the brightness of the day into gentle shadows. In that hush, sleep begins its subtle weaving. You sense how light and dark dance inside your mind, coaxing you toward dreams. You feel the first threads of unconsciousness unfurl, and you wonder, what begins the shift between waking and dreaming? Twilight comes quietly. It does not arrive with fanfare or sudden change, but with a gradual softening, the kind you almost miss until you notice the edges of the world growing rounder, the colors warmer, the air itself a little thicker with stillness. You sit there, letting the last traces of daylight slip through your fingers. Your breathing deepens, not by conscious choice, but because the body knows that the day is closing its book. Somewhere behind your eyes, the stage for sleep is being set. It begins with light, or rather, the absence of it. Every cell in your body listens to light as if it were a conductor's baton, telling each part when to work, when to rest, when to repair. The eyes are not just windows for vision. They are messengers. As the sun sinks, the light entering your retinas grows weaker and redder, and special cells, not the ones that let you see shapes and colors, but those tuned specifically to brightness, send a quiet signal to your brain. Night is here. That signal travels along a delicate nerve highway to a place deep inside your head, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN. Think of it as your body's timekeeper, a cluster of about 20,000 neurons that keep rhythm even when you are unaware. For most of the day, the SCN hums at a bright, steady pace, keeping you alert. But when light fades, it changes its tune. The hum slows, and with it, so do you. From here, the message travels to the pineal gland, a small, pinnacle-shaped structure. That might seem unremarkable if you could see it, yet it plays a role in one of the body's most poetic acts. As the SCN signal arrives, the pineal gland begins releasing melatonin into your bloodstream. Melatonin is not a sedative in the blunt sense. It doesn't knock you unconscious. Instead, it is more like the dimmer switch on a lamp, telling every cell, lower the lights. Prepare for rest. You can almost feel it. The cooling of your skin, the slight heaviness behind your eyes, the way sounds begin to feel a step farther away. Even your core body temperature dips, a subtle but essential cue for sleep to come. Your blood vessels open slightly in your hands and feet, releasing warmth into the air, as if your body were surrendering the heat it no longer needs to hold. Outside, the shadows deepen. Inside, your thoughts begin to loosen their grip on the day. The to-do lists and fragments of conversation grow softer, like voices heard from another room. This loosening is part of the brain's shift from beta waves, the busy, alert rhythms of wakefulness, to slower alpha waves. If beta is a bustling street, alpha is a quiet shoreline at dusk, where thoughts lap gently against the edges of your awareness. You close your eyes, and though you still hover in wakefulness, the world behind your eyelids feels different. Shapes appear that are not quite dreams, fleeting colors, textures, faint impressions of movement. This is the hypnagogic state, a borderland between waking and sleeping. It is here that the rules of the day loosen, and the mind begins to wander, without the usual tether to reality. Artists and inventors have long tried to catch ideas from this place, because here, your brain starts making unusual connections, weaving together fragments from memory, imagination, and sensation. The science behind it is as beautiful as the feeling. In the hypnagogic state, parts of your sensory systems quiet down, while other networks, especially those that handle memory and emotion, stay active. It's as if the watchful guard at the gate of your consciousness has stepped away for a moment, letting unusual visitors pass through. A scent you smelled in childhood drifts in, uninvited yet welcome. A sound you didn't hear during the day suddenly echoes in your mind. The edges of self and world blur, not in a frightening way, but in a way that feels like sinking into something safe and vast. And beneath it all, light or its absence continues to guide you, even if you were to sit in a dim room all day. Your inner clock would still roughly keep time, but true darkness is the gentle hand that guides it to precision. That is why the stars themselves can feel like companions in sleep's approach. They are the ancient signals our ancestors lived by, long before clocks or electric lights. As you sink deeper into this unfolding quiet, your brain begins its slow orchestration of sleep's architecture. The first phase is light sleep, not yet the deep restorative kind, but enough that your muscles relax, your heart rate slows, and your body's alertness begins to truly fade. Your eyes may roll gently. Beneath their lids, a subtle leftover from the movements of waking life. Your breathing becomes more regular, and each exhale seems to carry away a little more of the day's residue. Melatonin continues to flow, but other chemical shifts are underway too. Adenosine, a byproduct of your brain's energy use, has been building up all day, creating what scientists call sleep pressure. Now, with melatonin's encouragement, adenosine's influence becomes stronger. The neurons that kept you awake can alert step back, like musicians laying down their instruments after a long performance. The transition is not a single drop, but a series of steps down a winding path. You may surface briefly, adjusting your position, tugging a blanket closer before drifting down again. Each time you resurface, it is a little harder to recall the exact train of thought you left behind. The waking mind's grip slips, and the dreaming mind begins to reach for the reins. Somewhere in this descent, your awareness narrows to just this moment. The softness beneath you, the steady rhythm of breath, the faint hum of life around you. You are not yet dreaming in the vivid sense, but you are no longer fully awake. It is as if the brain has dimmed the lights in one room while lighting a candle in another, guiding you through the doorway without hurry. Outside, the world may still carry the remnants of motion, a passing car, a distant voice, a leaf, brushing against the window. But here, in the private theater of your mind, the curtain has begun to close. You are in the hands of something older than language, older than thought, the daily rhythm of life itself. This is the true lullaby of light and shadow, not just the play of colors in the sky, but the intricate dance of biology and time that guides you into sleep's embrace. Each step is a gentle negotiation between body and brain, between the pull of the world and the call of rest. And yet, you are not quite gone. In this moment, you may feel a kind of openness, as if your mind is leaning toward something, toward images not yet formed, toward feelings not yet spoken. The shift from waking to dreaming is not a sharp line, but a wide river, and you are drifting slowly to its center dot in a few more breaths. You will leave this first stage behind and enter a new rhythm, one shaped by waves of electrical activity, that slow, deepen, and change the way your brain communicates with itself. These rhythms will begin to carry you into the cycles of the night, each with its own landscape, its own story. But for now, you remain here, resting in the gentle pause, between the world you can touch and the one that waits beyond. The shadows outside are deep enough to hold you, and the light within you is soft enough to guide you forward. You take another slow breath and feel the current beneath you shift ever so slightly. You are beginning to drift toward the quiet hum of the brain's inner voices, the whispers of neurons that will soon lead you further into the night. You tune into the soft hum of neurons firing in your sleeping brain. Their whispers carry memories and feelings, folding them into the night. Each tiny spark is a story, a fragment drifting toward dreamtime. You follow their glow with quiet fascination, and you wonder, what patterns do these whispers form? It begins like the faintest rustle in a darkened room. Not quite sound, not quite silence. Somewhere inside the vast cathedral of your mind, a signal leaps from one cell to another, quick as the flicker of a candle flame. You cannot see it, but you can feel the presence of it, a quiet pulse threading through the fabric of your being. This is the language of your neurons, the microscopic messengers that never sleep entirely, even when you do. Each neuron is a small, intricate wonder, a body, branching arms, and a long, delicate tail. They are not alone. Your brain holds around 86 billion of them, more than there are stars visible in the night sky. Even now, in the softness of your descent into sleep, they are speaking to one another in bursts of electricity and gentle chemical exchanges. It is tempting to think of this as random chatter, but it is anything but. These whispers carry meaning. Some are instructions to keep your heart beating steadily and your lungs drawing air. Others are fragments of memory, the feel of a friend's voice, the warmth of sunlight through a window, the scent of tea rising from a cup. Each signal is like a single note in an immense orchestra, its timing and pitch perfectly tuned to the needs of the moment. The conversation between neurons is called synaptic transmission. The word sounds clinical, but in truth, it is one of the most intimate acts within your body. Imagine two neurons leaning toward each other, separated by the smallest of gaps, the synapse. One releases a tiny packet of chemicals, neurotransmitters, into that gap. The other receives them, interpreting their message. This exchange can happen hundreds of times a second, faster than thought, faster than awareness. As sleep deepens, the tone of the conversation changes. In wakefulness, neuron signals often fire in rapid, scattered bursts, like rain falling on many rooftops at once. But in early sleep, they begin to move together in slower, more rhythmic waves. These slow oscillations are the hallmark of the brain settling into rest. If you could hear them, they might sound like the deep, steady breathing of someone asleep beside you. And yet, this is not mere stillness. In these slower waves, the brain is quietly sorting through the day. Neurons that fire together during certain events, learning a skill, remembering a face, are reactivated in a softer echo, reinforcing the connections between them. This is memory consolidation, a term that sounds mechanical, but is in truth profoundly human. You are, in a way, dreaming your memories into permanence, though you may not be aware of it. Consider how the hippocampus, a seahorse-shaped structure deep in the brain, plays its part in this whispering. During the day, it is like a busy scribe, writing down the experiences you gather, where you went, what you saw, who you spoke with. But the hippocampus does not keep these notes forever. Instead, at night, it hands them over to the neocortex, the part of your brain that holds long-term memories. The transfer is delicate, like moving fragile glass from one shelf to another. Neurons fire in coordinated bursts, each spike of activity a small handoff in this great relay. And in the spaces between these bursts, something even subtler happens. The synapses, the tiny meeting points between neurons, rest. They shrink, ever so slightly, reducing the amount of energy needed to communicate the next day. This process, known as synaptic homeostasis, is like the brain tidying its desk before morning, ensuring the pathways are clear for new learning. If you could watch this happen, it would not look like a mechanical sorting machine. It would look like a slow tide moving across a vast shore, pulling away what is no longer needed, leaving behind the smooth stones of memory. The tide is guided by the chemistry of your brain, the ebb and flow of neurotransmitters like glutamate, which excites neurons into firing, and GABA, which soothes them into stillness. In this gentle neural network, there is also space for creativity. Sometimes, neurons that have never spoken to each other before will fire together for the first time. It is as if two strangers in a crowded city meet by chance and discover they share a language. These new connections can give rise to insights that you wake with, but cannot trace to a single thought or moment. It is the brain's way of stitching new patterns from old threads. Outside the deep biological truth of it, the feeling is much like listening to a distant, unfamiliar song through a wall. You catch certain notes, certain rhythms, without ever hearing the whole piece. You are inside it, but it remains partly hidden. And that mystery is part of what gives dreams their strange, fleeting beauty. The electrical nature of these whispers is worth pausing over. Neurons communicate through tiny pulses called action potentials, a rapid shift in electrical charge that travels down the length of the neuron. Each action potential is an all-or-nothing event, like a tiny spark jumping a gap. It happens, or it doesn't. There is no halfway. This binary language, spark or silence, builds into the complex symphony of thought, emotion, and perception. Even now, as you drift toward the deeper stages of sleep, this language continues without you needing to do it. Neurons in your visual cortex may replay fragments of the day's images. Those in your auditory cortex may stir faint echoes of voices or music. Your limbic system, which weaves emotion into these sensory threads, may give certain memories a warm glow or a shadow of unease. And then there is the default mode network, a constellation of brain regions that remains active even when you are not focused on the outside world. At night, its whispers grow more pronounced. It drifts through autobiographical memories, weaving them into narratives that sometimes make sense and sometimes dissolve upon waking. It is, in many ways, the storyteller of your sleeping brain. You may think of sleep as absence of movement, of awareness, of productivity. But the truth is that in these hours, your neurons are working in ways that waking life cannot replicate. They are repairing, reinforcing, pruning, and building. They are keeping the body's vital systems in balance while giving your mind the raw material for tomorrow's thoughts. Some signals tonight will never return. They serve their purpose in the moment and fade away. Others will become part of you, written into the architecture of who you are. The whispers of neurons are not only the sound of the brain resting, they are the sound of the brain becoming dot as you listen. Or imagine listening to this quiet electric song. You may notice how it is not a single melody, but many layered together. Some threads are old and familiar. Others are new and tentative. Some belong to the steady rhythm of breath and heartbeat. Others belong to the shifting tides of memory and dream. You do not need to catch each word, each spark, each pattern. It is enough to know they are there, working gently in the background, guiding you deeper into the night. And soon, those whispers will begin to gather themselves into larger waves, great, slow movements that will rock you into the next stage of sleep. You will pass into the cycles that carry you deeper and deeper, each one a tide pulling you further from shore. Already, you can feel the change beginning, like the subtle turn of a season in the air. The whispers are still there, but they are aligning themselves. falling into step with the broader rhythm that will hold you through the night. And in that rhythm, you will discover not only the patterns of neurons, but the patterns of time itself. The tides and cycles that shape every hour of your rest, leading you into the next great chapter of your journey. You are rocked by the rising and falling tides of sleep cycles, drifting between gentle rest and deeper currents. Each phase has its own rhythm, slow waves, rapid pulses, drifting thoughts. You feel yourself carried on by their ebb and flow, and you wonder, how do these cycles shape your dreams? The night does not carry you in a single straight line from waking to deepest rest. It moves in circles, or more precisely, in waves. You are not sinking endlessly downward, but drifting in a rhythm that takes you deep, then brings you back toward the surface. Again and again, now it begins with the first descent, the light doze that follows the letting go of the day. Here, your body is still close to waking. If a sound touches your ears or a movement stirs beside you, you might rise to the surface again. But if the night is kind and still, you slip further into the current, letting it pull you into the first. Full cycle. A sleep cycle is not a single place, but a journey of its own, lasting about 90 minutes from start to finish. Within that time, your brain and body travel through distinct stages, each one with its own landscape, its own work to do. You repeat this journey several times each night, like a ship circling through the same ports, yet finding each visit subtly. Different from the last stage one is the shoreline, the border between waking and sleep. Your muscles relax, your heart slows, and your breathing steadies. It lasts only a few minutes, but it is the threshold through which every cycle begins. If you awaken here, you may not even feel that you are asleep. It is that light. Stage 2 takes you farther out. Here, your brain waves slow into patterns called sleep spindles and K-complexes, brief bursts of activity that appear against the backdrop of calmer rhythms. These are the gentle ripples of a mind, protecting itself from waking. Sleep spindles are thought to guard against disturbances, keeping you from rising fully into consciousness when something small, a creak of wood, a sigh of wind, rushes past your senses. K-complexes, on the other hand, are like single, deep drumbeats, responses to the outside world that decide, let it pass. Keep sleeping. From there, you drift into stage 3, the deep, slow wave sleep. Here, your brain's activity slows into long, steady pulses. If stage 2 is a gentle rocking boat, stage 3 is the quiet stillness of deep water, where even the smallest sounds are muffled. Your muscles are fully relaxed, your breathing slow and deep. This is the most physically restorative stage of the night, the time when tissues repair, when the immune system strengthens, when growth hormone quietly flows through your bloodstream. In this deep stage, you are harder to wake. If someone calls your name, it may take a moment for your mind to surface enough to respond. And when you do wake from here, you may feel the heaviness of sleep inertia, that thick, foggy disorientation that makes the world seem a step removed. But even deep sleep does not last forever. After some time, you begin to rise again, not toward full waking, but toward a strange and vivid shore. REM sleep, REM rapid eye movement, is unlike any other stage. Your brain becomes almost as active as it is during wakefulness, sending bursts of activity through the visual and emotional centers. Your heart rate and breathing quicken, your blood pressure rises slightly, and your closed eyes dark beneath their lids, as if tracking scenes on an invisible screen. It is here, in REM, that dreams often bloom in their most colorful and elaborate forms. The same circuits that process memories and emotions by day now weave them into stories, often surreal, sometimes vivid enough to stir your sleeping heart. The muscles of your body, however, are held in a state of near complete stillness, a protective measure to keep you from acting out the movements in your dreams. When the REM stage softens, you emerge into a lighter sleep once more. Stage 2 again, before the next cycle begins. In a full night, this looping journey from light sleep to deep sleep to REM and back again repeats 4 to 6 times. But the balance shifts as the night goes on. Deep sleep dominates the first cycles, while REM takes more space in the later ones. By the hours before dawn, you spend longer in dreaming waters than in the slow depths below. This rhythm is not accidental. Deep sleep early in the night gives your body the physical restoration it needs first, repairing, replenishing, strengthening. Later, when that work is well underway, REM expands, tending to the mind's work, processing emotions, consolidating complex memories, and exploring the strange, creative landscapes of dreams. These cycles are guided by a quiet interplay of brain chemistry. Adenosine, which built up during the day to press you toward sleep, continues to ebb. Melatonin's steady influence keeps your body anchored in the night's rhythm. Other chemicals shift in balance. Serotonin and norepinephrine, high in wakefulness, are dialed down. Acetylcholine rises during REM, sparking the brain's dreamlike activity. The tide of sleep cycles is also shaped by your inner clock, the circadian rhythm, which tells your body when it is night, even without a watch or a window. It ensures that these 90-minute voyages align with the greater arc of the night, so that you wake, ideally, near the surface rather than from the depths. If you imagine yourself lying on a gentle ocean, you can feel these cycles in the way. Your rest changes through the night. Sometimes you float near the surface, aware enough that a sound could bring you back. Sometimes you sink into the stillness where time is lost. And sometimes you drift in that bright, strange realm of REM, carried by stories only your sleeping mind can tell. Even without realizing it, you have felt these tides before. You wake in the morning and remember a dream vividly, only to realize the sun is up. You were likely in REM just before your eyes opened. Or you wake in the middle of the night, heavy and slow, because you were pulled from the depths of stage 3. You may turn over, sigh, and let the tide carry you down again. These cycles are the quiet engineers of your night, each stage preparing you for the next. Without them, sleep would not be restorative. It would be a flat plain instead of a landscape. The deep valleys repair the body. The bright shores of REM refresh the mind. Both are needed, and both are carried on the same unseen tide dot. As the night moves on, you will drift again into deeper waters and back toward the surface. With each pass, the balance shifts, making room for the next work to be done. It is a rhythm, older than memory, shared by almost every living creature that sleeps. Even the simplest animals, without dreams as we know them, show patterns of rest that rise and fall like waves dot. And here you are, held in this same pattern, your body and mind swaying to the slow music of the night. You do not have to steer. You are carried. You do not have to decide. The tide knows where to take you. Soon, the cycles will carry you into one of their most mysterious harbors, the deep, unlit spaces where dreams are faint and fragmented, yet filled with quiet meaning. This is the realm where your mind lets go of form, where thought drifts without the bright colors of REM, but still shapes the unseen foundations of your dreaming self. It is the next place your journey will take you, and it waits just beyond the pull of this present tide. You sink into deep sleep's soft ocean, where consciousness floats free of time. In these depths, your brain quiets its chatter, gathering dream fragments. You drift through unspoken landscapes of memory and feeling, and you wonder, what stories lie hidden beneath deep slumber? The world around you is gone. Now its edges softened, its details blurred. You are no longer holding the weight of the day. It has slipped from your hands like sand falling quietly through fingers. You lie suspended in a vast, dark sea where the surface is far above, and the currents are slow, deep, and certain. This is deep sleep, your body's quiet sanctuary, a place where the mind does not think in words, but in currents and shapes. Your breath is slow and even, like the tide pulling in and out beneath the moon. Your heart beats in a gentle cadence, unhurried, steady. Every cell in your body seems to sigh in relief. In the waking world, time is measured seconds, minutes, hours, but here, time loses its edge. You are not counting moments. You are dissolving into them. In deep sleep, you drift in slow wave patterns, vast ripples of electrical activity rolling across your brain like long, soft swells in the ocean. These slow waves are more than patterns. They are cleansing tides. With each rise and fall, your brain flushes away the debris of thought, the unused bits of memory, the mental clutter, the day's static. It is as if invisible rivers are flowing through your mind, carrying waste products away, leaving behind clear pools of thought. Scientists call this the glymphatic system, a quiet maintenance crew that works only when you are asleep. During deep sleep, the brain cells shrink slightly, opening up channels for cerebrospinal fluid to wash through, rinsing away molecules that, if left behind, could cloud thought or weigh down the mind. You might never feel this cleaning in a conscious way, but its effect is like waking to a room that has been tidied overnight. As your body repairs and restores itself, your mind moves into landscapes not meant for daylight. Dreams here are different from the bright, strange, fragmented scenes of REM sleep. They are slower, heavier, like walking through a forest in early dawn mist. You may not even remember them when you wake, but they shape you all the same. Memories come here not as sharp images, but as softened threads. A sound from your past becomes the hush of wind in a dream meadow. A face once familiar becomes a gentle warmth beside you, its details smoothed by the deep ocean currents of sleep. Your mind is weaving, repairing, deciding what to keep and what to let fade. Neuroscientists have seen this weaving in action. In deep sleep, the hippocampus, your brain's memory harbor, replays events from the day in a slow, deliberate rhythm, passing them along to the neocortex, which stores long-term memories. It is like two storytellers exchanging tales by firelight, deciding which ones to keep in the great library of your life. And while the memory keepers work, your body is hard at work in silence. Muscles knit themselves stronger, tissues repair. Tiny tears, hormones surge and ebb in rhythms that follow the hidden clock inside you. Growth hormone, in particular, peaks here, quietly building and mending the structures that carry you through the day. You are utterly still, and yet, in this stillness, the most profound work is taking place. It is a paradox only sleep can hold, that in the deepest rest, your body is alive with restoration. If you could step outside your dreaming self and see your brain now, you would see a slow rolling wave of electrical activity. Not the quick sparks of waking thought, but great tides moving from the front of your brain to the back, like the sea's endless pull. These waves are the signature of deep sleep. Their rhythm is steady, unhurried, and essential. This rhythm is protective. When you sink into deep sleep, your brain becomes less responsive to the outside world. Sounds grow distant. Your awareness narrows until it is only an ember, glowing faintly somewhere within. It is nature's way of keeping you in the deep waters, long enough for the work to be done. The dreams that emerge here are not urgent stories. They are not puzzles to solve. They are more like faint brushstrokes on a vast, dark canvas, shapes that carry the emotional weight of your experiences, without the sharp edges of reality. A joy from years ago may drift past, its colors muted, but its warmth intact. A worry may appear as a shifting shadow, gentled by the darkness until it loses its teeth. You may not remember these dreams when morning comes, and that is part of their gift. Deep sleep does not always ask to be remembered. It asks only to be. entered fully, to be trusted with the quiet work it does beyond your awareness. Still, there are nights when something of it lingers. A feeling of being held by something vast and safe. A sense that, though you do not know the path, you have been walking it in the dark and are now farther along. The beauty of deep sleep is in its surrender. Here, you do not need to direct your mind, solve problems, or even understand the work being done. You need only to sink and let the currents carry you. Like a pearl forming unseen in the shell, your mind is being shaped in silence. But deep sleep is not endless. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the waves begin to change. The tide starts to turn. The brain begins to stir with a different kind of energy, quicker, sharper, more vivid. The slow waves give way to bursts of activity that will soon paint bright and strange pictures across your mind's eye. For now, you are still deep beneath the surface, but somewhere above, a new kind of dream is forming. It waits like a flicker of light far through the water, ready to pull you upward into a world where your mind begins to run again, but this time in the playground of REM sleep. And you may wonder, as the deep ocean currents give way to brighter tides, what happens when the mind begins to dream in colors again. You awaken inside REM's vivid twilight, where images sparkle behind closed eyelids. Colors, voices, and places blend in fluid, poetic scenes. You float through emotion-tinted panoramas of your inner world. And you wonder, what makes IE dreams so alive? You are no longer in the heavy depths of deep sleep. Something shifts. A flicker of awareness ripples through the stillness, not enough to wake you, but just enough to make the inner world brighter, sharper, and strangely more alive. Behind your closed eyelids, the darkness is no longer still. It is painted with the soft glow of moving images, swirling like watercolor in water. Shapes form and dissolve, colors emerge from nowhere, and scenes open like windows into other realities. You are in REM sleep, the paradoxical stage, where your brain is as active as if you were awake, yet your body lies still, cocooned in immobility. It is here, in this twilight between worlds, that dreams take on their most vibrant, unpredictable forms. The name comes from your eyes' rapid eye movement, those tiny, darting motions beneath your eyelids, as if they are following the invisible world unfolding in your mind. To watch someone in REM sleep is to see a subtle mystery at work. The face relaxed, the breathing light, yet the eyes tracing patterns only the dreamer can see. Your brain in REM is busy. Busy in a way that seems almost playful. Signals surge. Between regions, memory centers firing, emotional circuits glowing, sensory areas lighting up as though you were tasting, smelling, hearing the dream world as vividly as waking life. It is not a passive state. It is a theater in full performance, with both playwright and audience. Why is it so vivid? Because in REM, the brain's sensory systems, especially those linked to vision and emotion, become highly active. The visual cortex hums with patterns as if you were really seeing. The amygdala, the seat of deep emotions, responds with intensity, coloring each scene with mood, sometimes joy, sometimes fear, sometimes a kaleidoscope of feelings at once. It is not only memory that feeds these scenes, but also imagination. Your brain blends fragments of the day with echoes of the past and whispers of things you've never experienced. A face you saw for only a moment on the street may appear here, woven into a completely different setting. A place you have never been may rise before you, shaped from pieces of countless real landscapes, stitched together in impossible ways. In REM, logic loosens its grip. Time can bend. Space can fold in on itself. You may walk through a door and find the ocean on the other side. You may speak without moving your lips. You may see colors you can't describe when you wake. And yet, in this dreamlike looseness, your brain is working with purpose. Research suggests that REM sleep plays a key role in emotional processing, helping you understand and integrate the feelings you carry. It is as if your mind uses this vibrant stage to rehearse life's emotions in a safe space, letting you feel them, express them, and then release them. Imagine it like this. All day long, you collect threads, thoughts, impressions, feelings, fleeting moments. At night, REM takes those threads and begins to weave them into patterns. Some are beautiful tapestries. Some are chaotic knots. But each one carries meaning, even if you never fully remember it. You are floating now in one of these patterns. A street lamp glows with an unfamiliar light. The air smells faintly of rain, though you know it's not raining. A voice calls your name from somewhere far ahead, and you move toward it without walking. The world feels both strange and entirely your own. Your heartbeat is steady, your breathing slow, yet your brain's rhythm is lively waves of activity, rolling through as if carrying messages from one shore to another. In waking life, this much neural activity would be tied to action. But here, your muscles are gently paralyzed by a built-in safeguard, so you cannot physically act out your dreams. This metonia keeps your body safe while your mind roams freely. Roam it does. You might leap between decades in a single blink, seeing yourself as you once were, or as you might one day be. You might find yourself in a place you love deeply, without ever having visited it before. You might be both participant and observer in the same dream, slipping between perspectives without noticing the shift. Sometimes, the dream feels like a story with a beginning, middle, and end. Other times, it is more like a series of images, each dissolving into the next with no clear narrative. The lack of structure is not a flaw, it is the nature of this realm. A space where your mind can wander without the rules of waking life. There is a strange wisdom here, even the most surreal. Dreams can leave you with a feeling, a message that lingers. The details may fade, but the emotion remains, like the warmth of sunlight on your skin long after the sun has set. Science tells us that REM sleep is not just about dreams, it also supports creativity, learning, and problem solving. Experiments have shown that people often wake from REM with new solutions, unexpected connections, or fresh perspectives. Your mind is not idly drifting here. It is exploring, experimenting, and making leaps it could not make while tethered to the rules of logic. You are in a liminal space, the boundary between consciousness and unconsciousness. The imagery feels real because in many ways, your brain treats it as real. The same networks that would light up if you are actually seeing or feeling something in the waking world are engaged here, fully active. And yet, you are safe in the quiet darkness. The world you see is contained entirely within you. It is a world that no one else can enter, except in the retelling imperfect, incomplete, and often impossible to capture. Here in REM, your mind is a painter working in colors that fade with morning. You are both the brush and the canvas. The scene shifts again. You are walking through a forest made of glass. Each tree shimmers as if lit from within. You hear footsteps beside you, though you cannot see who makes them. A bird made of light lands on your shoulder and whispers something you cannot understand. You feel no fear, only curiosity, a gentle openness to whatever this dream will bring. Time feels fluid. You could be here for minutes or hours. In reality, a typical REM cycle lasts around 10 to 40 minutes, growing longer toward the morning. You will pass through several of these cycles in a night, each one carrying its own dreamscapes, its own moods and colors dot, and just as softly as it began, this particular scene begins to dissolve. The forest blurs into soft light. The bird of light becomes a single glowing point, drifting upward until it disappears. Your eyes beneath your eyelids slow their restless motion. The rhythm of your brain begins to change, pulling you toward. the edge of wakefulness, or perhaps into another stage of sleep entirely. The dream lingers in fragments. You feel as if you have been somewhere meaningful, though you cannot say exactly where. You carry with you a trace of its emotion, a faint echo of its beauty. Somewhere in you, a quiet question forms. It hovers, not demanding an answer, but inviting you to follow it. If REM is the place where your mind is most vividly alive, what happens when it slips back into the quieter, slower waves of deep rest? You sense memory weaving through your dreams, sewing past, present, and future in soft threads. Names, moments, and feelings drift in and out, given new shape by your sleeping mind. You trace each stitch, an echo, an insight, a mood. The night becomes a loom, pulling fibers from every corner of your life. And you wonder, how does sleep knit memories together? The night holds you like a vast, warm ocean. The world outside has dissolved into a quiet, almost infinite stillness. And within that stillness, a soft, patient weaver begins her work. You cannot see her directly. She moves not with hands, but with patterns, with pulses of electricity, with slow and careful rhythms shaped deep in your brain. Her loom is woven from neurons, from synapses, from connections so fine you could never hold them. Yet they are the threads of your very self. You drift deeper, feeling the air inside your mind grow gentle and thick, like the hush before dawn. Thoughts slow down, their edges blurring. They no longer arrive in sharp lines, but in glowing curves, folding into one another. Somewhere far below the surface of consciousness, your brain begins to sift through the scattered pieces of your day's moments, so small you may not have noticed them while awake. The tilt of someone's smile, the scent of rain on warm pavement, the way light pooled on your desk just before evening fell dot in waking life. These details scatter like leaves in the wind, easily lost to the noise of the hours. But in sleep, your mind gathers them. It cups them gently, holding them still long enough to see which belong to you, which will become part of your story, and which will dissolve like foam on a tide. This quiet sorting is more than a poetic image. It is the labor of the hippocampus, a small seahorse-shaped structure deep in your brain. By day, it catches experiences like a net-catching fish. By night, it releases the ones that slip away and anchors the ones that will stay. The weaver begins with the freshest threads, the things you learned, saw, and felt today. She moves them from the hippocampus to the vast storage vaults of the cortex, where long-term memories rest like folded fabric, waiting to be called upon again. In this way, your mind frees the hippocampus for tomorrow's experiences, making space for new patterns to form. Without this nightly migration, your waking life would feel heavy, crowded with too many unsorted impressions, like a desk piled high with paper. You sense this weaving as a subtle shifting inside yourself, an almost imperceptible reordering of your inner landscape. Memories that were once raw and sharp begin to soften, becoming part of the larger tapestry. You do not lose them, but they change. They find their place among older threads, where they can hold hands with experiences from long ago. A smell from your childhood might link itself to the scent of dinner from tonight. A sound you heard on the street might echo the lullabies your parents hummed when you were small. The connections are quiet, but they are the foundation of meaning. As you lie in this suspended state, science becomes a sensation. You feel as though your mind is a great, slow river carrying tiny boats downstream. Each boat is a memory, and some are set gently into the harbor, while others drift past into the sea of forgetting. The process is not cruel, it is necessary. Forgetting is as important as remembering. Without it, the waters would choke with too many vessels, and none could move. The weaver knows which threads to keep, though our choices do not always make sense to the waking mind. Sometimes, a detail you thought unimportant is preserved in astonishing clarity, while a seemingly significant moment fades. This is because the weaver works not from logic, but from feeling. The amygdala, your brain's emotional sentinel, whispers to her which memories carry weight, which are tied to joy, fear, longing, or awe. In this way, your sleeping mind is not just an archivist, it is an artist, arranging memories in a way that will shape how you understand your life. As the hours pass, you move through cycles of lighter and deeper sleep, and the weaving changes its pace. In slow wave sleep, the weaver works steadily, transferring memories into long-term storage with deliberate care. Here, the loom's rhythm is slow and powerful, like waves washing the shore. In REM sleep, the rhythm quickens. The weaver grows experimental, linking threads that have never touched before, memories from different years, from different moods, even from different parts of yourself. This is the birthplace of creativity, the reason you might wake with a new idea or a fresh understanding of something that had once seemed tangled. And all the while, a physical fabric of your brain is changing. Connections between neuron synapses are strengthened where they are needed and pruned where they are not. This pruning is as vital as growth. Without it, your thoughts would lose their clarity, tangled in too many competing signals. Sleep is the gardener of the mind, trimming excess branches so the remaining pathways can grow strong. You feel these changes not as movement, but as a deepening stillness, as if your inner world is becoming more spacious. The day's noise fades entirely now, leaving room for something quieter, richer. If you could look inside yourself, you would see new neural pathways glowing faintly, like fresh stitches in a vast embroidery. You would see old ones fading gently, released. You would see a mind becoming itself again, night after night. This weaving is not only for knowledge or skill, it is also for the weaving of identity. Every thread your sleeping mind chooses to keep is a thread of who you are. Each one strengthens the story you tell yourself about your life, even if you never speak it aloud. And because sleep links memories in new ways, your identity is never fixed. It shifts subtly, like the patterns in a handmade quilt. You are always becoming. Sometimes the weaver pauses her work to wander. She drifts into the realm of dreams, bringing her basket of threads with her. Here, she does not simply file memories away, she plays with them. She bends them into shapes that could never exist while you are awake. A hallway becomes an ocean. A voice becomes the wind. The point is not to deceive you, but to show you how the pieces might fit together differently. In dreams, you rehearse challenges, test emotions, explore possibilities without consequence. The weaver watches closely, noting which patterns hold your attention, which ones spark a feeling strong enough to guide her choices when she returns to the loom dot by the time dawn approaches. The tapestry of your mind is subtly changed. You will wake not knowing all the details of her night's work. The threads will seem invisible at first, but when you speak, when you decide, when you remember something at just the right moment, you will feel her hand in it. You will feel the strength of connections you did not know had been tied. The weaver works every night without pause. Even in naps, she hums quietly, mending the smallest tears in your mental fabric. Without her, your days would blur together, each moment, slipping from your grasp almost as soon as it arrived. With her, you carry not just facts, but the colors, shapes, and textures that make life meaningful. Tonight, she works again, her loom lit by the soft glow of your own dreaming. You do not need to help her. You need only to rest, to sink into the currents that carry her from moment to moment. Each breath is a shuttle moving through the threads. Each heartbeat is the gentle tap of the loom. And somewhere, in the quiet spaces between, you can almost hear her hum sound as old as life itself, as constant as the turning of the earth dot, and in that hum, there is a question forming, a question that will rise with you into waking. If memory shapes who you are, What shapes the dreams that memory inspires? You listen to the brain's nightly symphony, the slow drum of your heart, the whisper of breath, the rhythm of brainwaves. Each layer plays its quiet part in orchestrating sleep and dreams. You feel the pulse of science beneath your rest. And you wonder, what harmonies guide your slumber? Night has gathered around you like a soft blanket. The world outside sinks into its own quiet rhythm, and you lie within a stillness that feels almost infinite. You close your eyes, and somewhere inside you, a conductor lifts an invisible hand. The symphony begins. At first, you hear only the faintest of sounds. A heartbeat slow, deliberate, like the low thump of a distant drum in a sleeping forest. It keeps time for everything else. This drum has been playing since before you took your first breath, and it will play until your very last. Tonight, it is slower than during the day, as though it too has found a gentler tempo for the night's long journey. Your breathing joins in a soft, steady whisper of air flowing in and out. It is the quiet wind of your inner world, rising and falling in waves. Each inhale carries oxygen into your blood. Each exhale releases carbon dioxide back into the night. The rhythm is unhurried, unforced, perfectly timed with the beating of the heart. This is the foundation of a symphony low and steady, a bass line you can feel more than hear. But as the minutes pass, you sense other instruments emerging. The music of your brain begins not with words, not with thoughts, but with patterns. Slow brain waves roll in first, broad and gentle, like the swell of an ocean under a calm moon. Scientists call them delta waves, the deep, slow pulses that rise during the heaviest stages of sleep. They are the deep strings of the orchestra, rich, grounding, resonant. Above them, a lighter melody drifts theta waves. They appear in the dreamier stages, just before sleep pulls you fully under. These are the flutes and violins of the mind, playing wandering tunes that weave daydreams, fragments of memory, and surreal images together. And sometimes in the quiet, you feel sudden flickers, bursts of brain activity called sleep spindles. They appear like small cymbal chimes, quick and bright against the slow background. They are moments when your brain works quietly to strengthen memories, filing away the day's events so they will be there for you in the morning. Each part of this music has a purpose. The heartbeat carries life to every cell. The breath fuels it. The brainwaves shift between slow and quick tempos, each phase guiding you into deeper rest or lifting you into the vivid world of dreams. Even the smallest bursts of activity are not random. They are notes in the score, written by evolution over millions of years. You do not hear these sounds with your ears, of course. You feel them in the body, sense them in the mind. And yet, if you were to look at them on a machine, an electroencephalogram, or EE, you would see them as waves drawn on paper. The brain's music becomes a picture, peaks and valleys, smooth arcs and sudden spikes. It is art made of electricity. As the night unfolds, the symphony changes. It is not a single unbroken song, but a cycle that repeats. You pass from light, sleep to deep sleep to REM sleep and back again. With each transition, the music shifts like movements in a classical piece. In deep sleep, the bass notes dominate. Your heartbeat and breathing are slowest here, your brainwaves widest and heaviest. This is the movement of restoration. When your body repairs itself, when growth hormone is released, when tissues heal and energy is stored for the coming day. Then the tempo changes. You drift upward toward REM sleep, and the music grows livelier. Brainwaves become quick and mixed, almost like the waking state, yet your body remains still. The heart beats a little faster. The breath becomes irregular, like the swaying of a lantern in the wind. This is the movement of dreaming, when colors, voices, and impossible places bloom in your mind. But even here, the symphony is carefully balanced, Certain parts of your brain remain active, creating the vivid imagery of dreams. Others rest, allowing emotional weight to soften. In REM-MIG, your amygdala, the brain's emotional center, plays more loudly, while your prefrontal cortex, the rational conductor, steps back. The music becomes wilder, more unpredictable, like jazz. Through the night, you cycle between these movements, slow and heavy, fast and bright. Each cycle lasts around 90 minutes, a quiet tide of brain and body. And with each repetition, the balance shifts. The deep bass of slow-wave sleep dominates early in the night, but toward morning, the light, quick music of REM fills more of the score. If you listen closely, not with your ears, but with your awareness, you might feel these changes as they happen. The weight of deep sleep lifting into something lighter. The mind is stirring, images forming behind closed eyes. The music turned toward its next phrase. This nightly symphony is not just a performance, it is a collaboration. Every system of the body takes part. The endocrine system releases hormones in time with the brain's signals. The immune system listens to the slow rhythms, using them as cues to strengthen defenses. Even the digestive system follows the music, slowing its work to let other parts take center stage. And though you may not feel it consciously, your brain is also conducting an invisible choir, millions of neurons firing in patterns, exchanging chemical messengers like musicians, passing a theme from one section to another. The neurotransmitters serotonin, dopamine, acetylcholine, each enters and leaves the stage in turn, shaping the tone of dreams, the smoothness of memory formation, the gentle shift into waking. It is beautiful, not because it is loud or grand, but because it is precise and alive. Every note is necessary. Every silence is just as important as the sound. And here is the quiet miracle. The symphony plays whether you notice it or not. You could be aware of it, as you are now, or you could drift through the night, never once thinking of it. Either way, it continues faithful, patient, ancient. As the night deepens, the music draws you inward. You begin to lose track of its structure, just as you lose track of time. Notes blur into one another. Brain waves shift so smoothly you can no longer tell where one movement ends and another begins. The body surrenders to the score, and the mind follows. And somewhere in this music is the answer to a question you may not even know you are asking. Why does sleep feel so necessary, so complete? It is not just rest, it is harmony. It is the alignment of heart, breath, and mind in a pattern older than language, older than thought itself. Outside, the world is silent. Inside, the orchestra plays on, moving toward the soft, inevitable finale that comes with morning light. But the last movement is not here yet. The music has more to give. You sink deeper, letting the rhythms carry you. You feel the heartbeats, steady drum, the breath's tender wind, the brain's shimmering patterns. You are both listener and instrument. The symphony is not happening to you. It is happening through you. And as you drift, you sense that this music is not just for sleep. It is the background to everything you are. It plays in waking and in dreaming, in memory and in thought, in every moment you live. Tonight, you simply hear it more clearly. The music softens. The night holds you. The conductor's hand is still raised, but the notes have become almost transparent. You are ready for the next movement, one, where the music fades just enough for another layer of the night's story to emerge. You drift into the healing presence of dreams, where emotions find gentle space to breathe. In sleep, your mind processes, balances, and renews. You feel your spirit softened and restored by the night's quiet alchemy. And you wonder, how do dreams mend and nourish you? You are floating. The day's weight has lifted from your shoulders, its noise folded into silence. Here, in the unlit garden of sleep, You wander among moments without the pull of time. This is where the mind works in ways you cannot see, yet you can feel its soft tides moving within, shaping the shoreline of your thoughts. Your breath falls into its own rhythm. The body lies still, but deep inside, quiet work begins. Neurons fire in patterns like flickering fireflies. Each spark a signal, a message, a repair. It feels almost magical, but it is the biology of restoration, your mind tending to itself like a careful gardener, pruning, watering, replanting. When the day is long, your mind gathers more than it can easily hold. The joy that lifted you, the sorrow that pressed into your chest, the small details you thought you forgot. Sleep is when these scattered pieces find their places. Like threads gathered from many colors, dreams begin to weave them together, not always in ways that make obvious sense, but in ways that restore balance. Scientists call this emotional regulation, a soft recalibration of your inner weather. When you dream, the brain's limbic system, the seat of your emotions, remains active even as your body rests. It is as if your feelings are given a room of their own, a safe space to unfold without interruption. Fear, hope, love, regret, they drift in, stretch their legs, and settle into a new, calmer shape. Sometimes you dream of things that hurt. You see old faces, replay old moments, feel echoes of sadness or fear. And yet, when you wake, the sharpness is dulled, the weight lighter. In this way, dreams are a kind of nighttime therapy, a private conversation between the conscious and unconscious mind. Neuroscientists have seen it in brain scans, how REM sleep, the stage rich with vivid dreaming, dampens the sting of difficult memories while preserving their meaning. Your dreams may also act like gentle storytellers, recasting your experiences in a new light. A conversation from the day before might appear again, but now it takes place on a ship drifting through clouds. A worry may return, but now it is softened by strange details, wrapped in imagery that makes it easier to approach. This is the mind's way of exploring problems without the sharp edges, turning them over in a dream's softer hands until they are ready to rest. The healing power of dreams is not only emotional, they also help your mind grow, strengthening, learning, shaping memory. When you practice a skill, study a fact, or face a challenge, sleep is the quiet workshop where your brain reinforces those connections. Neurons strengthen their bonds, patterns become clearer. It is why students are told to sleep before an exam, why musicians improve overnight, why an idea sometimes arrives in the morning as if carried on the tide of dreams. The hippocampus, that small seahorse-shaped structure deep in the brain, plays the role of archivist. It takes the events of the day, some vivid, some barely noticed, and decides what to keep, what to release. During REM sleep, these memories are replayed in bursts of activity, as if the mind is rehearsing them for long-term storage. But they are not simply filed away, they are connected to older memories, woven into the vast tapestry of your life's story. This is why dreams sometimes feel like a conversation between your present and your past. An image from childhood may suddenly stand beside something from yesterday. A place you've never been may hold the face of someone you know. Your mind is stitching fragments together in ways that bring fresh meaning. And perhaps this is the most healing aspect of all, that dreams give you a way to see yourself anew, not as a fixed shape, but as something still forming, still growing, still capable of change. In the soft theater of night, you are not bound by the rules of waking life. You can fly, speak to the lost, walk through doors that do not exist. And though the logic of dreams may dissolve with morning, something in you carries the essence forward, a small shift in perspective, a quiet loosening of an old knot. Some researchers believe this is also when creativity thrives. The dreaming brain, unshackled from the straight lines of conscious thought, makes leaps that waking logic would never allow. A melody forms from the memory of a train whistle. A new idea blooms from a fragment of conversation. History holds many such stories. Scientists, artists, inventors whose breakthroughs appeared in dreams, like gifts from the night. But healing is not only in the ideas or solutions we find, it is also in the simple act of release. During sleep, stress hormones drop, heart rate steadies, breathing deepens. The body repairs tissues, restores energy. Your immune system strengthens, quietly, patrolling for anything that does not belong. Even the cells in your brain take part, clearing away byproducts of the day's activity, as if sweeping the floor before the next morning arrives. You may not remember most of your dreams. They slip away in the light, like mist rising from a lake. And yet, their work remains silent, but present in the way you feel lighter, clearer, more whole. The forgetting is part of the healing, too. You do not need to hold every image for it to shape you. Sometimes, in the middle of a dream, you sense something tender at work, an unspoken kindness, a quiet repair. You may not be able to name it, but you can feel it, like the warmth of sunlight, through closed eyes. Dreams give your mind a safe place to revisit the hard things without breaking under their weight. They let you speak to yourself in a language older than words. Even nightmares, in their way, can be part of this healing. Though they may wake you with a start, they often carry messages from deep within, a fear asking to be heard, a memory asking to be seen. Some scientists believe nightmares help you rehearse for danger, preparing your mind for challenges without putting your body at risk. Others see them as the mind's urgent attempt to resolve what waking hours have left unfinished. Whatever their form, dreams are one of your oldest companions. Every night, for as long as humans have existed, we have stepped into their shifting landscapes. They are as much a part of our survival as food or shelter, not only protecting the body, but nurturing the heart and mind. Tonight, as you drift deeper, imagine your dreams as a gentle current. It carries you into places where the burdens of the day grow lighter, where the knots in your thoughts loosen, where the seeds of tomorrow's ideas are quietly planted. You do not need to steer. You are carried, supported, tended to by something within you that has always known the way. The night is long enough for the work to be done. And when the morning comes, you will rise not as you were, but as someone softened, renewed, ready to carry what matters and release what does not. You approach the edge of morning, where sleep's world dissolves into waking light. Dream echoes linger softly in your senses, new and old weaving together. You float between worlds, carrying traces of night into day, and you wonder what remains of dreams when dawn arrives. The first light is not always a beam through the window. Sometimes it is a thought, a gentle stirring in the mind before the body remembers the day. You are still wrapped in the warm weight of night. It's quiet, music humming faintly in your chest. The air feels softer now, as if morning has not yet decided whether it will fully arrive. There is a pause here, a brief, precious space where two worlds overlap. One is the familiar geography of waking, the room, the walls, the muted colors of morning. The other is the fading dreamscape, a shifting continent of memory and feeling. You stand at the shore between them, with one foot in each realm. Your breathing changes. During sleep, your breaths were slow tides, unhurried, drawn from deep reserves. Now, as consciousness rises, they grow slightly quicker, catching a new rhythm. Your heartbeat adjusts too, like a musician tuning before the performance begins. Inside your brain, the transition is equally intricate. The electrical pulses that guided your dreams, slow, looping patterns in deep sleep, rapid bursts in REM begin to change. Neurotransmitters shift their balance. The levels of serotonin and norepinephrine, low during dreaming, begin to climb. reorienting your awareness toward the outside world. And yet, dreams are not gone in an instant. They cling to you like mist, fine and luminous. You remember fragments, a voice, a doorway, a feeling that had no clear shape. The details begin to dissolve, even as you try to hold them, slipping through the sieve of waking thought. This is not forgetfulness alone. It is part of the brain's natural design, a form of protection. Dreams, vivid as they seem, are coded differently than waking memories. They emerge from networks deep in the limbic system, woven through with emotion before logic can claim them. Without the hippocampus fully engaged, many remain as impressions rather than stories, fading into the background of your mind. Still, some dreams persist. A strong emotion, joy, fear, longing, can anchor a dream so that it follows you into the day. Science has found that the amygdala, your brain's emotion center, stays highly active in REM sleep. When a dream stirs the amygdala deeply enough, it leaves behind a lasting imprint. Like a footprint in wet sand. You lie still for a moment, tracing these echoes, noticing which images brighten when you recall them, and which dissolve faster the harder you try to remember. It feels like listening for a distant melody, one you half hear and half imagine. In this liminal time, the borders between memory and imagination blur. You might recall a conversation from a dream and almost believe it happened yesterday. Or you might feel a subtle emotion, a warmth, a sadness, whose origin you cannot place. The brain does not yet insist on clear categories. It allows a quiet mingling of truth and invention, long enough for something deeper to settle. Some mornings, this in-between state is gentle, even luminous. You rise slowly, carrying a kind of quiet blessing into the day. Other times, it can feel heavier, a residue of unrest or unease. This too is part of the mind's processing. Dreams are not only storytellers. They are sculptors of mood, shaping how you first meet the day. Neuroscience suggests that REM sleep helps regulate emotional balance. During dreaming, your brain replays experiences, but with stress chemistry dialed down. It is as though the mind takes difficult memories, places them in softer light, and turns them over gently, without the sharpness they once had. When you wake, those emotions may feel less raw, even if you don't consciously remember the dream that tended to them. Think about how this process might be as important as any waking task you undertake. That sleep does not only rest the body, but recalibrates the self, ensuring that you can step into the day without carrying the full weight of yesterday unaltered. Your body. 2. Shifts in subtle ways to greet morning. Core temperature begins to rise, guided by the circadian clock in your suprachiasmatic nucleus, a cluster of neurons no bigger than a grain of rice, but precise enough to keep time with the turning of the earth. Cortisol, the hormone that mobilizes energy, begins its dawn surge, not to startle you, but to prepare you for gentle action. Every cell seems to listen for the signal that the world is waking. And yet, you do not need to hurry. This threshold is not a place to rush through. It is a quiet harbor before the currents pick up. You might think of ancient mornings before alarms, before the glow of screens, when waking was tied to the slow brightening of the horizon, when there was time to lie still and let the senses recalibrate, to smell the air, to feel the first warmth on the skin, to hear the gradual layering of birdsong. Even now, in a modern world, you can claim a moment of this slowness. You can notice the fading dream textures and wonder what small messages they carry. You can choose to let their softness tint the first colors of the day. Some dreams arrive like visitors, carrying symbols you do not yet understand. Others feel like old friends returning to say one more thing before they leave. In either case, they are part of a conversation that does not end when you open your eyes, because waking, too, has its dreamlike moments. flashes of intuition, sudden images, the quiet pull toward something unseen. The difference is only one of rhythm and setting. Your mind is still capable of dreaming. It simply changes the stage on which the dream plays. You rise slowly now, feeling the gravity of the body return. Your feet meet the floor, your spine straightens, and the day's first choices begin to take shape. But the night has left something. With you, a thread you might follow later, in a pause or a reflection. When the world grows still again. In this way, dreams do not entirely vanish with daylight. They become part of the invisible fabric of thought, woven into your responses, your hopes, your quiet moments of wondering. And perhaps that is the gift of this crossing, not to preserve every image, but to carry the essence of night's work forward, to allow its healing, its balancing, its subtle rearranging of the self, to continue quietly beneath the surface. Outside, the light grows stronger. The first true sounds of morning arrive. A door opening somewhere, the distant hum of life beginning. You breathe in the day, yet feel the soft trace of the night still resting in you. The threshold fades, but you know it will come again. And each time, it offers the same unspoken question. You rest in the final whisper of night, holding sleep's warmth in your mind as day begins. You sense how knowledge of your dreaming brain can soothe and comfort beyond sleep. You drift gently forward, carrying the hush of science and story with you, and you wonder, how will sleep's quiet wisdom guide your waking hours? You lie in the soft in-between. Morning is there, waiting, but not yet asking for you. The air feels still, as though the whole world holds its breath. The last tendrils of sleep curl around you like pale threads of cloud, neither here nor there, yet warm enough to keep you resting. You do not need to rush. You do not need to decide. For now, you simply are. Your body is already changing. The first light seeping through the curtains has touched your eyes, even behind closed lids, and your brain senses it. Deep inside, your pineal gland quietly slows the flow of melatonin, the gentle night messenger that has kept your body still. Your temperature begins to climb, heartbeat lifting a little, as if a tide has turned in your chest. This is the chemistry of awakening, the gradual shifting of inner seasons. You do not think about it, yet it happens. The slow orchestration of hormones, electrical signals, and tiny molecular messengers works without your command. It is the same natural precision that guided you into sleep, now guiding you out of it. The brainstem sends subtle pulses to your muscles, waking their readiness. Your breathing deepens slightly. Even your skin seems to prepare for the day, adjusting its tiny vessels to meet the warmth ahead. But in this pause, you are still connected to the world you just left. Dream fragments move through you like small, bright fish in a quiet pool, darting, vanishing, returning. You might remember the color of a sky that never existed, or the weight of a hand you have never held. You might feel an emotion with no story attached, a whisper of joy or sorrow that lingers in the body without needing a name. Science tells us that such fragments are the scattered remains of REM activity, bits of memory and imagination that have not yet dissolved into the sea of waking thought. You breathe in slowly. It is easy to believe that dreams are gone the moment you open your eyes, yet neuroscience suggests otherwise. The hippocampus, that seahorse-shaped keeper of memories, has been working through the night to move and reshape the things you have seen, felt, and imagined. Emotional weight has been softened. Tangled thoughts have been combed smooth. Even if you cannot recall the dream's plot, you carry its effects, calmer edges to grief, fresh light around an idea, the quiet relief of having set something down. Sleep has left its fingerprints on your waking mind. Your ability to solve problems, to notice patterns, even to feel empathy. All of these are shaped by the unseen labor of the night. Like gardeners tending soil while the town sleeps, your sleeping brain has been pruning and watering, clearing, and planting. The results are here, though invisible. A mind more ready to listen, to create, to hold steady. You sense this in subtle ways. The morning air feels slightly kinder against your skin. A task that seemed impossible yesterday now feels possible, if still challenging. You notice the color of the sky more vividly. The day's first sounds, a bird call, the creak of wood, the distant hush of traffic, seem like gentle invitations, rather than demands. This is not magic, but biology and rhythm entwined. Your circadian clock, your memory circuits, your emotional centers, all tuned by the night's work dot. And now, as your body continues its slow shift toward full wakefulness, you hold something precious, the awareness of this process. Knowing what happens in the dark, the intricate repairs, the weaving of thought and feeling, the way dreaming cleans and nourishes the mind, changes how you meet the day. You can carry the calm of that knowledge with you. Science is not. Separate from the softness. It is the softness made visible. You think of the night as a friend who visits without asking for thanks. It arrives, does its work quietly, and leaves you better than before. In the busy hours ahead, you might forget the details, but the effects will remain. Like water hidden in roots, they will feed you invisibly until evening returns. Perhaps you will remember this the next time you lie awake, restless. You will know that surrendering to sleep is not giving up on the day, but giving it the best gift you can. You will remember that the drifting of consciousness is not wasted time, but essential repair. That your mind is never idle, only working. In a language you cannot hear, you may also feel a shift in how you see yourself. The same brain that dreams strange cities and impossible skies also navigates your waking choices. The same networks that soften the sting of yesterday's sadness will help you meet today's challenges. You are not two selves, one for night, one for day, but a single self moving through changing states. Like water turning from stream to mist to rain dot outside, the light has grown. You open your eyes fully, noticing the way the walls are, gentler in this early glow. Shadows are still soft-edged, as though the day is reluctant to sharpen them. You stretch, feeling the length of your limbs, the weight of your body, the groundedness of being here. Each movement is both an ending and a beginning. This is the final whisper of night. You can carry it with you if you wish, not as a fragile thing to be protected, but as a living current to be drawn upon. The awareness of your sleeping mind's generosity can soften the edges of the hours ahead. When you are tired, you might remember the way your brain restores itself. When you are anxious, you might recall the strange safety of drifting into dreams dot, and when you reach the end of another day, you will know that this cycle will meet you again. That the curtain between waking and sleeping is not a wall, but a breathable veil. That science and story are not in competition, but are two ways of naming the same mystery. That in every night's descent, there is quiet creation. You rise slowly now. The floor beneath your feet is cool, and the day is ready to begin its unfolding. Yet something of the night remains, not clinging, but accompanying. Like the echo of a distant song, it moves with you as you open the door to morning dot, and somewhere, deep inside, the dreamer within you still lingers, patient, waiting for the next return to the quiet side of the mind. And so, our journey drifts to a close. The questions we've explored tonight may rest for now, but they will linger quietly in the spaces between your waking thoughts and your dreams dot, if this time has brought you peace, or sparked a quiet wonder. Let the like button be your way of leaving a gentle footprint here. Share tonight's story with someone who might need a moment of stillness, a pause in the noise of the day. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What resonated with you? What dreams this story may have stirred? Your words help guide where we travel. Next dot, and if you wish to join me again, press subscribe and ring the bell so each new journey finds you, ready to listen. Until then, may your night be calm, your dreams be kind, and may the hush of curiosity follow you into the morning.